What's up, Digital Business Evolution? Welcome back to the show. We've got a real special guest here today, one of my dear friends, also coaches and just total badasses, Brett Eaton. Brett, welcome to the show.
Jess, thank you so much for having me on. Big fan of
Yeah.
you, big fan of the show. So good to be here.
Awesome. Well, okay, the formal introduction. Brett is a life optimization coach, speaker, author, and owner and founder of the Better You Blueprint coaching program. He's also the co-host of the podcast, The Better You Blueprint. Brett is a Jersey guy. He is. Brett's a
Born
Jersey
and
guy.
raised.
I know. It's something special that we have these Jersey people. So I can do Brett's whole formal bio, which is wildly impressive and very extensive, but I'm going to do a more informal introduction because I feel like that's more fun. So Brett and I were just talking about it offline. We think we met in 2017. We actually met at an event. So power of events, which I feel like I've said that on this podcast probably a solid 5 times, and all the times was Lewis House Summit of Greatness.
Right,
Which is
right.
really funny. And we have it coming up in like a week and a half. We're going to be there again, which is
So
crazy.
excited to go
I
back
know.
there to where so many good relationships and networking people have just been. And
I
it's just
know.
a good, I mean, the getting in person at these places is game changing.
Yeah.
Game changing for your belief, game changing for just realizing that there are other people that think and want what you want. And then you just never know. I mean, like we didn't meet being like, hey, we should work together in 2.5 years and we should do all these. No, but I mean, the way things come around and we were in
Yeah.
a program together and now to
Hmm.
where we're at, it's just amazing to think that we met at something where we both just showed up with zero expectation.
Yeah, literally. We just met on the lawn. I think we were eating
Yeah.
food truck food and started chatting, and it was the instant bond over being from New Jersey that sort of
Right.
sparked the friendship. And then yeah, we did. We went through a mastermind program together, and I remember in that mastermind program we challenged one another to do 30 lives in 30 days, and this was back on Facebook.
That's
30
right.
lives in 30 days, and it was really hard.
It was so hard, but it was so much easier knowing you were doing it too.
Yeah.
And knowing just, hey, just show up, just do something. But it was majorly impactful for me to get over my fear of having to be perfect and everything has to be curated and I need the
Yeah.
script and I need to make sure my hair's in the right way and the wind's blowing in the right direction and the sun is in the front. It cured me from all of that. And
Yeah.
now, I mean, I think like one of my strong suits is like just not caring what it looks like, just put it out there.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that
And I
your
think
hair
that
was
came
always
from this.
perfect.
I got the fans in the right direction in this room, of course.
Yeah, well, it's funny because that challenge that we put each other through, however many years ago it was, 4 or 5 years ago, was right now because my Facebook memories every single day
Oh,
have been
that's right.
popping up and it's all the lives. And so my Facebook memory today popped up and I was doing a live about Food Freedom University, which was my one of my old health
Wow.
and wellness programs. Yeah, and I was talking about my relationship to food, and I think I was in a launch actually of that program. But man, we've definitely been through a lot of growth together.
Mm,
And now, where you are today, you're running this incredible business. You've pivoted yourself even from more of like the health and fitness, right? I mean, take us back just a couple of years ago. You were living back on the East Coast because now you're out in sunny
mm.
San Diego, and you were teaching fitness classes, and you were in more of like the fitness world.
Yeah.
And now you're this
Yeah.
optimization coach. So, can you just kind of bridge the gap for us?
Absolutely. So, our stories are similar and where we both kind of, stepped into that fitness space and I loved it. I mean, I loved everything about fitness. It's just from a young age playing sports, it was just something I've always been attached to and always loved and identified with. But I started getting this like itch of I know I'm good at this. I know I'm helping, but I feel like I could be doing more. And I
Mm,
feel like I'm no longer being fulfilled by this role. And so I started to take some of my clients that I know had great success, and I phrase it this way is like I started to be really interested in helping them with the other 23 hours of their life.
mm,
I knew that they were showing up. I know you're checking that box. Fitness is great, right? You're showing up a couple times a week. You're good. What's going on behind the scenes that is preventing you from more success? What is going on in your head that we can talk out? And I started to realize so many of our sessions, and anybody who's ever been a personal trainer knows it's therapy, it's friendship, it's like your confidant, it's your, all things.
yeah.
And I started to be like, so these clients that were like, yeah, sure, I'll take you up on some like life coaching, is what we were basically calling it at the time. And I loved it. I loved it so much that I was like, I need to be doing this full time because this is what I'm so excited for every call. I'm so excited for every client. This is where I really need to be. And So when I started to make that pivot, I just started working with different clients in different areas, and we called it life coaching for a while. And then I started realizing it's not so much just overall life coaching as it is setting these people up to up level their standards in these main buckets of their life. And the main buckets, for each person is different, but really health, wellness, business, career, relationships, and then the fourth bucket, which I've named fulfillment, because I really feel like we need that bucket to, no matter how good the other three buckets are, if that bucket's empty, we're never going to feel good about the life that we're living. So that's really this transition to this high performance life optimization coach that is here today. And there's been a lot of steps along the way that I'm sure we'll touch on, but that's how we got here.
Okay. So take me back for 1 second, because I think for any of the listeners, we could all sort of connect the dots: health and fitness, financials and career, right? Relationships. What falls under fulfillment?
That is everything and anything that is going to leave you feeling fulfilled. That is how we spend our time. That is where we get our energy from. That's time off for people. That's trips for people, concerts. I mean, it could be anything that is going to leave you feeling fulfilled. But I think so often we find people chasing success, and they're chasing and they're chasing and they're chasing. And one, they never know when they get it, because we've usually not identified what success means to us.
Yeah.
But the second side of that is, if we're chasing success and we get it, but we still don't feel fulfilled, to me, that is a huge wasted opportunity. And for some people, they get to the end of their life and they realize that. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we're attaching fulfillment every step of the way. And in those buckets, are we fulfilled with where our current health is, how we feel, the energy that we show up with every day? Are we fulfilled with the relationships that we have, not just intimate, but intimate and personal and friends and family? And, are we meeting new people, those kind of things. And then, of course, the business side or the career side of people. Do they feel like they're waking up with a purpose every day? Do they feel like what they're doing matters? Yeah. And is it exciting for them? So that all will lead to that fourth bucket of fulfillment. But we got to bring it along. We can't just assume that it's going to happen if we focus on these other three.
Yeah. As you sort of unpack that for me, I feel like, at least in my experience, that fulfillment bucket, unfortunately, is oftentimes the one that I'm not pouring into, or I'm like letting it leak out of another hole. It's sort of, for me, that and my workouts, right? Like movement, they seem to be the first thing that slip when I'm too busy. I have so much going on, or I'm traveling a ton. It's like the very thing that will actually make me feel better and energize me is oftentimes the very thing that I think a lot of us sort of push to the back burner because I'm busy. I don't have time. I can't. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's attaching them all to each other.
Yeah.
And kind of saying, hey, there's times where you're going to put more time and energy into one of them because they may need it. But that fulfillment bucket is the one where you'll see the success in your business and you won't feel successful, and you'll find the person to start dating and you won't feel fulfilled, and you'll get the six pack and you won't feel fulfilled. And there's a reason for that. Yeah. There's a reason, because we may be chasing something that, one, we never really wanted to get in the first place, but also we got to make sure, I talk a lot about going from good to great, and we got to make sure that we're chasing our great. Not your great, not that person's great, not what we see on Instagram. It's got to be a destination that we want to get to, not because we feel like we're supposed to be there.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times the place that we think we want to go, or the destination we're trying to get to, or the goal, we're actually striving to get there because of the feeling we think it's going to give us, right? Or the meaning it's going to give us. So I love that you just said this, good to great, and choosing your definition of great, because my next question was actually going to be, what is your current, and I'm saying that like in bold, what is your current definition of success or greatness, and has it changed?
I think it's absolutely changed. To me, it's waking up every day with purpose. It's feeling fulfilled at the end of your day, because of the day that you chose to live. And it's the journey. And it's, I know that is like as cliche as it gets, right? And I'll drop some good lines and I'll drop some cheesy lines, but this one's cheesy. But I think it's just so true that it's when you finally realize that the things that excite us are the journey. When we walk out of the gym, we both can relate to this analogy. We walk out of the gym, it's not because we completed our fitness journey every day. It's because we know that we're on track, and being on track makes us feel really darn good. And it's the same thing about business. It's, there's an excitement, people who come into your program, Empower, they're so excited on that first call, and they haven't built a damn thing yet, right? Yeah. Most of them haven't started, but it's their pursuit that gives them that fulfillment. It's the idea that I am taking action towards who I say I want to be that leaves them with that huge smile on their face and this giddy excitement. Yeah, there's some nerves there. And yeah, there's probably, some anxiety around like, I hope I can do this. I know I can do this. But that's the journey. That journey of success, it has to mean that. So to me now, I think it's different because I realize that I can enjoy life along the way. It doesn't have to be this, I will when I get to. It's, now living on the West Coast, I love building business. I love building a business. To me, it's a game, and it's a game that I love playing because I feel like it's changing and there's always new challenges and there's, a rule change here or there. Thanks, Instagram. But there's always some games to play, but I like that. But to me, I've really adopted this new lifestyle of like, I like building a business. I also like learning to surf. You can see my board here, and I like being outside, and I, just started playing beach volleyball, and I can coexist with all these things. I can be a high performer. And I believe that embracing those things that leave me fulfilled, give me that much more energy and power in my business.
I totally agree. I want to come back to the high performer thing, but as an expert, as a coach, as a mentor who's worked with hundreds of clients in this high performance optimization sort of industry, what would you say, is this even a pattern? Is it true? What would you say happens along the way? Because like, to your point, the first call, we're so excited. We haven't even built anything yet. But then somewhere along the line, in my experience, whether it's a fitness goal, a business goal, people will get discouraged. They'll drop off, they'll quit, they'll get angry. It's no longer fun. So in your experience, like what is happening in the middle?
It's the universe is testing you. We have constant opportunities to double down on how badly we want something. I think as soon as we say we want something, there's probably going to be a test, right? I don't know one relationship that is really, really great that has not had to go through at least one test or one hard time or one challenge.
Yeah.
And the ones that are on the other side that we look up to and we're like, oh, they have such a great marriage. They have such a great relationship. They've been through some stuff, right? It's not that they just had an easy life. It's that they've been through it and they've gotten to the other side. I think business is no different. But I also think that a lot of people, and this comes in all those buckets of their life, they want it as long as they don't have to work too hard for it, as long as it comes easy. And they're like, I really want what they have. And then as soon as you realize what they've done to get there, you're like, do I really want it as badly as I thought I did? I don't know. So some of that you're only going to find going down the road, right? You're at the start, you start climbing the mountain and you start to be like, that might be too big for me, Yeah. But for other people, it's, this is harder than I thought, but I'm getting to the top. If you have that mindset, and I think, we talk about this a lot in the programs and with the coaching we do, is the mindset has to be there.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to totally be there because you're going to learn some of it and you're going to double down on your belief as you go. I think of it like walking. I believe that there's action and then there's belief, and they kind of move like your feet are going to move. And what happens is you have to take some action. And then if you feel stuck, you probably got to double down on your belief. And then the other foot goes with action and belief. So if you're stuck somewhere, flip to the other side and be like, it's time for that other leg to move. And to me, it's this journey of, again, using the mountain analogy, is you're hiking up one step at a time, belief, then action, then belief, then double down on that action. And
you just wanted to fist pump.
I just wanted to really fist bump. Yeah. Not usually both hands, but I'll do it for both hands just because you're from Jersey. You get it.
I love that though. Action and belief. I feel like a similar way that I've read about manifestation, right? It's like having gratitude and desire. It's being present in where you are and also knowing where you want to go. And that's literally how we move. So has that type of mindset shift now removed any challenging days for you? Do you ever get stuck in the mud? Are you ever feeling down and out about the business or the life or anything? Or are you just like, you flip the switch and you can do it now?
Oh no, life is just easy and perfect all the time, Jazz. Like, are you kidding me? It barely rains out here in San Diego. No, of course not. I mean, you just equip yourself better to handle the challenges. Every time you go through a challenge, the best part about it is we're not realizing it at the time, but we have another tool in our belt that prepares us for when that challenge comes up again. So when you hit that sticking point, one, you have more belief. And I this is kind of a bigger statement, but to remind anybody who's going through a hard time is, because you're still here, because you're still breathing, you are batting 1,000 at getting through hard challenges and hard times because you're still here. You've made it through every one that they've thrown at you, that the universe has brought to you. So, the universe is never going to give you more than you can handle, whatever you believe, but it's probably going to be more than you expected. And I think that that's where we get tripped up, is we thought it would be this hard and it was actually a little bit harder. but that's your opportunity to up level. And
Yeah.
the reason why I like the word high performance is we see these obstacles as opportunities. We
Mm.
see this adversity as an opportunity later down the road, as being like, yeah, it's really hard now, but this is going to teach me something so that one, I don't have to hit this challenge again, but two, I'm going to be way more prepared mentally, physically, emotionally, so that I know that that next challenge that comes, I'm going to be ready for it.
Yeah. You know, I'm obsessed with like tactical tools and
Mm.
steps and things. So, do you have two or three things that you can share with our audience members that maybe you use, or maybe some of your clients have used tools to sort of get out of the funk on the days that they're in it? Because knowing it is one thing, right? Having the awareness of it is one thing. But I always use the example, when you're sort of in it, when you're in that funk, it's like telling someone who's having a panic attack to calm down. So,
Mm.
like, knowing it for me at least isn't necessarily enough. It's like I need some tools. And so, do you have two or three that you could share with us?
Absolutely. I would say the first one is you got to have some sort of setup process to fall back on. And I
Mm.
think the best part about being an entrepreneur is people see like, oh, flexible schedule. This is cool. Like, and I have this line that I've used plenty of times is like Costco Brett. Like Brett loves going to Costco in the middle of the day because of my business, right? I don't have to go with the crowds. I can go in the middle of the day. Now, however, that also means that there are going to be late nights. There's going to be early mornings. There's going to be Fridays in. But having a plan to fall back on, and that plan is just like a weekly planning session. And I know that every successful business owner, I'm sure you have one, no matter, even if it looks a little different, but you look ahead. And to things in the setup process that I use is the most important thing is called landmines.
Mm.
And what we realize is those landmines are things that we stumble upon and it blows up our week or blows up our day. Funny thing about these landmines, Jess, is we've planted most of them ourselves. They're a party. It's a travel destination. It's a meeting. It's a back-to-back calls that we've scheduled. Well, we did that. And all we need to do is glance a little bit ahead to say like, okay, that's coming. I need to be prepared for that on Thursday. Hey, my Wednesday morning is not going to look the same. So if I'm a morning worker outer or I like to meditate or read, well, I got to maybe move that around or wake up earlier.
Yeah.
And if you can set yourself up for success so that these landmines aren't going off left and right every day, one, you're going to have a lot less challenges, but two, you're just going to be prepared for them. That would definitely be the first thing.
I feel very seen right now. I feel very vulnerable. But I love this because it's taking a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach to your own life, which to your point, you're the one scheduling it most of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I
Right.
love this.
The second thing is an analogy I use called hurricanes and tornadoes,
Mm.
right? Now, if we watch the news, hurricanes, we know they're coming about a week ahead, right? They're talking about it. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. So we can prepare for those. We can, down the hatches. We can prepare for either a launch in business. We can prepare for a busy time, a season, a holiday, whatever it's going to be. So if we're not prepared for that hurricane, it's kind of on us because we knew it was coming. We just need to prepare for it.
Yeah.
Tornadoes, on the other hand, happen in the instant, and we just have to do the best that we can in that very moment. So there are going to be hurricanes in your business. There are going to be tornadoes in your business. The hurricanes we can prepare for, do your best, understand that it might not go exactly how you want, but we can set it up. And the tornado, you just got to do your best to get through it because it's not going to last long, right? Tornadoes are fast. They happen quick, but that could be for some people, a sick kid. That could be waking up with a cold. That could be, your travel getting messed up. I was just traveling the other day and got stuck at the airport. It's like, okay, couldn't control that. That's a tornado. I didn't expect that when I got on the plane. Here I am. What am I going to do? Let's make use of these next 2 hours rather than just sitting here complaining. So understanding that the hurricanes, we have some control over. The tornadoes, you do your best and you build up resilience for the next time that happens.
I love that. So what I'm hearing is move to a place that doesn't have inclement weather.
Yes, move to some sunshine. And
Got it. Back to Arizona we go. We just have droughts there. No, but again, it's almost this proactive approach. So I'm gonna throw one at you, and I'm gonna ask if you can give me one more that's now the mindset piece, because these are very like tactical. I love the masculine tactical. So the plane gets delayed or whatever happens with your flight, and now you get on the plane and you consciously say, okay, how can I use this time wisely? Even though this wasn't the plan, this is a tornado. I'm going to handle it the best that I can. Are there steps that you take? Are there tools that you have to walk yourself off the ledge, for lack of a better term? Because I know we're all human, right? And so I know that sometimes something like that can cause a spiral, especially when it is out of your control and now it's not going your way. And so the little
Mhm.
3-year-old version of yourself starts to throw an internal tantrum. So do you have some tactical things that you do? Is it like breath work? Is it meditating? What do you have?
I wish it was more, concrete, but it's
Mm-hmm.
really just reminding myself that I'm not as important as I think I am.
Mm,
That this entire airport isn't revolved around my schedule and my family and my meeting and my call and
yeah.
this. And when I do that, honestly, sometimes like I can go from like pretty frustrated to laughing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I do it from a standpoint of like, dude, what are you going to do? Like, you're
Yeah.
going to sit here and whine and cry. And like that person looks like their flight delays are way worse than yours. Or, oh my God, Zoom didn't work today. Like the world's over. It's like, no, it's okay. It's fine. It's going to be okay. And I just try to break it up. I try to use humor a lot. I use it in my coaching. I use it in, a lot of different areas of my life. But to me, it's like as soon as you can laugh at how serious you're making something that is really out of your control,
Yeah.
it immediately gets me back to a sense of like, okay, this happened. Now what?
Yeah.
Right. And it puts me in the now what? And it's like, well, now what? If I actually thought about it, this 2 hours can be great. I finally get to read the book that I've been, having carrying around for 2 weeks and not reading. Or I
Yeah.
finally get to call that person that like, hey, it's probably in the middle of the day for them. Let me catch up with them. So you realize that there are opportunities hidden in challenges. And my mindset is to always just remind myself that it's usually not nearly as big or disruptive as we think it is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I know being on the road, the 14 months that we were in the RV, there were so many times, as you could imagine, that we had Wi-Fi issues. And the reality of that was it was stressful though, because we run a business online and we have people that are waiting and we have staff and we have clients and we have expectations for other people that then something is out of my hands and I feel that we're not doing our part. So have you ever yourself or maybe with a client worked with someone that's the yeah, but Brett,
Mm,
you don't understand. Yeah, but Brett, it matters because yeah, but. And if so,
yeah.
how do you navigate that?
So first of all, to take a quick step back to go forward is uh, from the outside view, we are so attracted to people who are real. So I remember like the times that you guys had those Wi-Fi issues
Sorry.
no, but in a weird way, it was like, oh, she's human. They're running a business and okay, I'm sure she didn't love that happened, but it was like, oh, that does happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen to just me. I'm not the only person on the planet with bad Wi-Fi sometimes. It's like, oh, that does happen. So the funny thing is we think it's coming off so unprofessional or this, and we convince ourselves that it's the worst thing in the world. When reality is like, oh, hey, that person's human. They have bad days too, or they have troubles that they're working through. So that is the first part. Is it actually makes you more human. Your blunders, your flaws, your things, they're all make you more likable and relatable. And to the yeah, but is sometimes I'll just let them keep going. Yeah, but okay, keep going. Yeah, but, and we'll keep going until eventually they'll be like, yeah, but I know this is all wasting my time. And it's like, yeah, but I understand that you're never going to think that this is a big deal. And it's not that I'm not hearing them, but I almost want them to get to the place where they laugh.
Yeah.
Say it enough times to where you're like, yeah, I just wasted the last 5 minutes of my life complaining about something that is not going to change.
Yeah.
And you get them to realize that, hey, that is wasted time too. It's no different than, back to another fitness analogy, is like sitting on the couch stressing about that workout for 45 minutes when the whole workout would have taken you 30.
Yeah.
It's how quickly can we move on? And one of these, one of the traits that I talk about with high performers is their ability to make decisions. And you talk about this all the time. We talk about, as coaches in Empower, we talk about it's a crash course in decision making.
Yeah.
Well, being a high performer is not just about making decisions, but I really believe it's about making timely decisions. And sometimes the most timely decision is the fastest one you can make. Make a decision, move on, and just get the train back on the tracks, as opposed to sitting and stewing. I just don't think that a ton of people who are getting a lot done and being very productive every day are wasting a ton of time complaining about something that didn't go their way. They're
Yeah.
on to the next thing. It's like, I'll come back to that, or I'll go do that later. Or Instagram shut down that one day and the whole world had like a panic attack. It's like, post tomorrow. Like, use this time that your phone is not a distraction to go make progress. So I think it's it's finding these small windows of opportunity that are separators now, because people don't do the basics. And if you do the basics really well and you do it consistently, you're going to you're going to perform at a high productivity level.
Yeah. It's such an important conversation to have. And something I hear underlying is sort of permission to move through it. When you said sometimes you just let clients do the yeah, but thing until they start laughing, that is oftentimes what we need, whether it's someone to hold space for you or you just going through it yourself. There's the emotional ladder, right? And so a lot of times
Yeah.
we need to move through like the frustration and the anger and being pissed off and mad and all these different things to then like the resentment, or I don't have the scale in front of me, but you finally work your way up to like, it's neutral. Right. And so the permission to yell into a pillow or punch a pillow or cry, or just take that emotional moment or 10 minutes to sort of, one of my old coaches used to say, have a 10-minute pity party and then let's go, like get back to work. Okay, so let's shift gears. You keep using the term high performer, and I love that you just brought up decision making, because it is so difficult to make decisions, especially when they feel like they have a lot of weight. So when you're making a decision around your life, you just moved across, I guess it wasn't just maybe a year ago, right? You just moved across the country, like 3,000 miles, to make a pivot in your business, to decide to start a business. For me, same thing. These decisions feel really heavy when you're in them. And the point that you made about, maybe the most successful entrepreneurs making quick decisions, you didn't say anything about right decisions or wrong decisions. You said quick decisions. No. And something that I know is, my goodness, I had a tab open on my computer just a couple of weeks ago, and it was open for like a solid 3 weeks. And the decision of what was on this tab was so silly. It was picking an Airbnb for a retreat that we're hosting. So it wasn't silly because I care, but it was silly because the indecision was more draining on my mental capacity, and it was causing me overwhelm and stress because it was an unchecked to-do list item that really didn't require me doing anything. I didn't have to go create something, right? So the interesting thing about the decision making is not only that they're literally just moving forward faster, but they're not carrying as much weight, right? I imagine these decisions like rocks in a backpack. And so when we go back to the walking up a mountain, the decisions that you make allow you to pick your feet up and move, and you could do it with or without a backpack. So I love that so much. What in the world is a high performer?
So to me, a high performer is somebody who wants to up level their standards and again, go back to those main buckets of their life. Performing in and out. And it's not performance as far as on stage. It's not performance as far as a fitness routine, or it's not performance as far as dancer, singer. It's performing in every day of our life. And to me, we could take out the word performing and we could enter in how you show up. How do you show up in your fitness life for your own personal wellness? How do you show up in your business? How do you show up in your relationships? Being a high performer is holding yourself to a high standard and then being willing to set the routines and schedules around it so that you can do that on a very consistent basis.
So it doesn't necessarily mean like the best or the winner.
Not at all. And everybody's standards are different.
Yeah.
It's setting those and then being willing to do the work to make that happen. So to me, I know that I'm performing at a high level when I do the simple things. And it's what people are going to hear is they're going to hear the podcast and be like, Brett must have been really psyched up for that hour. But what they don't talk about as much is like the 7 hours I had before this that were all strategic to get me great energy right here, right now for this quote unquote performance. Right. And if that means I need to be, shut my mouth and be silent for the next 20 minutes after this, I'll do that. But getting ourselves to the point where we're performing at a level that we feel good, but that doesn't feel like we're exhausting all of our energy to do it. We want it to feel, I don't like the word easy necessarily, but we want it to come natural. Sure. And if we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, being a high performer is not that difficult. It's simple, not easy. Let's say that, right? It's simple to get ourselves there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy. But there are just some, I could list them all, but there are just some traits of high performers, like we talked about, being able to make decisions, being realistic with your expectations of yourself. And people think high performers just expect the moon from themselves and hit the moon every single day they wake up. And that's not true. What they do is, instead of having 45 things on their to-do list and getting through 10, they'll put the 2 most important things and they'll spend all day getting those 2 most important things done. Yeah. So there are things like that just are separators. And I think the biggest difference between people who are living good and doing good and have good and people who are doing great is really not only their belief system, but also just their setup and their execution.
Do you think it's something that's just people are wired differently? Do you think it's something that we can be taught and trained into? Or is it just kind of you look at some of these top athletes or top performers or top entrepreneurs, and you're like, yeah, they just have it. Is it something that we can sort of practice? Because a lot of the character traits that you're listing off, I do think that some people just have it and it maybe it's easier for them. And then there's certain things where I'm like, anyone can do that. It just takes a little bit of discomfort.
I think it's both. I think we have these natural strengths that we can lean on, and not everybody's strength is going to be the same. But one thing I try to pride myself on is any client that comes to me, I don't want to make your strengths anything other than strengths. They are strengths for a reason. They got you to where you are. We're going to leverage them, but we're also going to identify some areas of opportunity. And if there's a glaring area of opportunity that we can keep your strength and keep that area of opportunity, we're absolutely going to implement that. But I think most of this is teachable. It's kind of like if we were both going to take singing lessons, you may have a better voice than me to start.
I don't.
It's not that I can't.
I 100% don't.
Prove it on the call here. Can you sing us a couple bars? But it doesn't mean I can't become a better singer. Right. I may not have the natural sounding voice of Adele, but it doesn't mean that I can't improve my singing voice from where it is right now. If I practice, then I'm not going to get better. Of course I'm going to get better. How would I not get better with practice? So leveraging your strengths, and also, to give a black and white answer, is don't think that anything comes naturally to somebody, because you're putting them on a pedestal and you've just given yourself a very easy excuse of why you'll never have it. But if you say, hey, that is teachable, that is learnable, well, then you're in the same boat as everybody else. Look left, look right, focus on what you're doing, and just go get that thing. But you got to be willing to put the time, hours, and practice in.
Oh, the part about the pedestal, we all do it. And even when we do it and then we're let down, or we realize that this person is a human, we still fall into the trap of doing it sometimes, which is just so bizarre. It's just the ego, right? It's such a funny thing that we do that. So
it happens. And even just like joining your program, I know I've mentioned this publicly, so I'm not afraid to say it, but we were in the same program at one point, and then the next thing I knew, you were way up the mountain, and I was like, have I been sitting in camp for a while? Like, what the heck am I doing? Why is she moving so fast? But you put that ego aside, and it's like, because I knew you previously, I was like, she's probably just doing some different things that I'm doing. She's probably doing them more consistently, and maybe she has a bigger belief system than I do right now. So it's once I took you off the pedestal and made you a little bit more human, was not only the decision when I decided to join your program and to learn from you and adopt that, put my ego aside, said, hey, let me learn from this woman who's clearly doing something differently than I am to getting different results. But it just reminds you of, like, we're not that different. We're actually more similar than we were different, but there were just some strategic things done differently that was the difference maker.
Yeah. Oh, I acknowledge you. I have to acknowledge you publicly. I do all the time when we're together, certainly, but the removing of the ego, especially being in a program together, there's the man versus woman. Like, there's just so many pieces of it that I just give you so much credit. I'm not on a pedestal. I never was, but I give you so much credit for seeing that and saying, you know what, I think you have something that can help me, and put all that stuff aside, and so that you could help yourself, because many people wouldn't do that. And I just want to acknowledge you here, because it's the work that you're doing with other people, with the work that, the programs that you've created and stuff. It's incredible to see. And had you not, for lack of a better term, gotten out of your own way, or seen something that maybe you wanted to change, then you could potentially be in the same place that you were. Not that it was a bad place, but it's like, look at everything that you've built. Okay. So high performers.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean it. High performers, definitely things that we can practice, definitely skills and traits that we can hone in on. It might not feel comfortable. It might not feel easy. Do you see a correlation between a lot of these kind of high performers and entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. Because of their higher expectation of themselves. And that's one of the biggest things, is they have a higher expectation of themselves. Not that they think they're perfect or they're flawless, or
I was just going to say, are we perfectionists? And I just chunked myself into it because I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily perfectionists, but they believe that things that maybe other people would see as unattainable, they go one step further. And I was just having a conversation with a friend about this. I had a buddy come to visit, and we have great conversations. And it finally, we were sitting on the beach. We were just looking at the ocean, talking about things that we want to do over the next 1, 2, 3 years. And I finally was like, dude, I got to stop you for a second. I just had this crazy breakthrough of the difference between people who accomplish these big things and people who just have the idea and then it's fleeting.
Oh, share it with us.
It's literally taking one more step. He was explaining this story about this like wanting to break a world record, right? And rather than just being like, oh, that would be cool, and then going back to the episode you're watching or going back to just like, that will probably never happen, he went on Google and literally looked up the trail that he runs all the time and was like, I wonder what world records are here. Oh, there's 45 of them. Let me look through these 45. Oh, these 3 are actually seem like are the most realistic. Oh, that's the one that I probably could build. And what happens is, this may seem like foreign to some people, but literally all they're doing is every step he's going, he's giving himself more belief that it actually is possible. Where way back, rewind that conversation when he says, I want to break a world record, we're both kind of like, oh, well, that seems kind of big, man. Like, that seems kind of hard. But not only as he's explaining this story is he convincing me that it's possible, but also he's convincing himself. And I think that the biggest difference between these people that do the great things and just instead of just think them is go one more step, look it up, actually put pen to paper and say, what would this look like? You want to make $1 million? Great. What would that actually look like? What are you currently selling? How many of them would you need to sell? And when you put the numbers on paper, they may still feel big, but now it's realistic as opposed to completely unrealistic.
Yeah.
And that is going to give you belief like you've never had before.
Oh, it's so good. And it's this concept of borrowing the belief, right? Because a lot of times when we don't have the evidence that it could be possible, it's hard to believe something. When you can borrow the belief that someone else has done it, or actually the gap between your number and their number isn't that big, all of a sudden you can borrow the evidence and borrow the belief from other people. And that's the famous story of like the 4-minute mile, right?
Right.
Until we saw it, it was like no one was even going for something that fast. That's crazy. Who would ever do something like that? But then, oh my gosh, we catch wind that someone ran the mile and whatever the time was. And it's like, wait a minute, can I do that? And then we're striving towards that. So I love this idea. And I'm excited to watch your friend break this record.
Oh, it's going to be epic. I mean, like sitting there on the beach, put the whole plan together. It's like, it's happening. Like, there's no doubt, because we got so far down the road that it seems almost so doable. It's going to be crazy hard, but it's not impossible. Where that first statement felt impossible, and now it feels so possible.
Do you think that there's power, or is it necessary to speak something like this out into existence? And I don't mean in like the manifestation sense, which I'm all for the quantum, but it's sort of like publicly stating a goal, right? I know I was recently on a podcast and I said something that I had never said anywhere yet, but it's this goal that I'm going to write a book, but I'm actually going to write a box series, a children's book box series. And so I said it, and it was kind of like, oh, now I have to do it, right? Like, so do you think that that's one of the steps to, it's sort of like figuring out where you want to go, doing the research you need to do, like your friend did, checking out that the gap's not that big, borrowing the belief, and then is like speaking it out loud important?
100%. Rewind it back to our 30-day Facebook Live challenge. As soon as we both told each other, and that was some accountability. As soon as I did video 1 and told them the 30 were coming, it was like, ugh. Now, that's what's getting me out of bed at 11 o'clock, because I didn't do the damn video that day. And it's like, I got to shoot something just to check the box today. But it's the accountability. So I think, yes, it's so impactful to tell people about it. It's so impactful to write it down, get it out of your head, write it down somewhere. That's why vision boards, that's why dream boards, that's like they do work, because it's actually in a physical place.
Yeah.
The most important part of that is you have to be very clear and confident in who you're telling, because telling your big dreams to small-minded people will crush your belief. I don't care how strong you are in it. There's for every Michael Jordan out there who's like, and then it became personal. I'm going to do it because of you. I think for a lot of us, we are, our friends and our family and the people close to us, we are impacted by them. We are the version of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So just, I tell people, be very careful who you tell your big goals to, and make sure you have a couple people in your life that are, I try to pride myself on always being that's awesome. Tell me how that's going to happen. I want to be that person. I want to fill people up, as opposed to being the person of, there have been years in my life where I've been that, because I didn't believe I could do it. If I can't break this world record, how the heck are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Well, who does that serve? That serves nobody. So I always try to be that person. I try to pride myself on being that person where I will never crush your dreams. I'm going to fill you up. I'm going to pump you up, and you're going to hopefully walk away with more belief than you did. You just got to be really careful about who you tell them to. And I think sometimes, like a public setting, Jess, you have a lot of belief already, and you have you have checked off a lot of things. So I think you're fine saying that to everybody because it feels good. And in a weird way, it's like, oh, there's a ton of accountability here now. Let's go do it.
Yeah.
But if you're not at that point, I would say be careful maybe jumping on Instagram and telling the whole world you're going to do something, because there's also pressure that comes with it.
Yeah. And
And
integrity, right?
pressure and integrity. And, although pressure is a privilege and it's something that we get the opportunity to do, I, you know, start by telling somebody that is going to hold you accountable. And I always say your best friend is not that best person. To me, my best friends are going to love me whether I, am an idiot or whether I'm the most successful person ever. I would rather tell somebody that I'm going to be embarrassed the next time I see them if I didn't do it. To me, that's accountability. I don't want to show up at that friend's house or show up at that thing and have them ask me, hey, Brett, how's training for that going? Hey, Brett, how's that business thing? Hey, you said you were writing that book. How's it coming along? I want to be, it's going amazing. It's going so good. I'm on it. I don't want to be like, oh, did I say that?
Yeah.
Huh, forgot I said that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, open invitation, certainly in my DMs. I'm certain you would say the same thing. If you feel like you don't have someone that you can tell your crazy, big, stupid idea to, your big dream, you can absolutely slide into either one of our DMs and you can tell us, and we will hold you accountable, but also we'll just get excited with you and talk through all of that. So I can literally talk to you all day. We've spoken a lot about this belief, and something that I feel when you're talking about belief is confidence. I feel confidence from you in the way that you speak and you appear confident. And when I look at some of the most successful entrepreneurs, coaches, people on Instagram, speakers on stages, they're very confident. And I also know that confidence is something that holds a lot of people back. So one of my favorite things that you teach is around confidence, and it's this around action, and it's this ABC method. So can you break this down for us?
Love to. This is something that actually came up during my time in Empower, actually, and it was almost the name of my program. But it was just something that I wrote down one day and kind of fell in love with. And since that day, it's just been like one of the number one things that I use in all of my coaching, and the ABC method. And it comes from confidence. And so many times, think of any area of your life right now, if you're listening, of where you want more confidence in. You may be saying, I want confidence to start a business. I want a confidence to start dating. I want a confidence to go up to McDreamy in the coffee shop that I see every day and introduce myself, whatever it is. But we want the confidence so that we could go do the action. Unfortunately, it works in the exact opposite direction. We don't get the confidence to go do the action. We do the action, and then we get the confidence. So the ABC method is action builds confidence. ABC, action builds confidence. And what we realize is when we're lacking confidence in any area, the more action we take, the more confident we feel. If you take small action, great, you're going to feel a little bit of confidence there. If you take big action, you're going to receive big confidence from that. So to me, this is so important early on that we think we're just going to, and it goes right into the line of like, wait until you're ready. No, make yourself ready by taking more action. So it's really great for the entrepreneurial world, because there's going to be so many times where like we're not confident, because every new level comes with new challenges, new imposter syndromes, new all of that. So the way to break through that is to just keep taking action until you realize, I'm way more confident in that than I was when I started. I'm way more confident that I can do this. I'm way more confident that I can get to the top. I'm way more confident in sitting here in front of a microphone talking to you because of all the reps that I've gotten that way back in the day started with me freaking out talking to my phone on my 30 days of lives. And now there's a different confidence there because of all the reps we get. So I don't believe that people are either confident or non-confident, even though society wants to label you that, right? You're either a confident person 24/7 or you're not confident 24/7. I think that's a bunch of BS. I believe that we are all confident in some areas and could use and would love confidence in other areas. ABC method works for all of them.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's kind of, when you put it that way, it seems like, yeah, duh. I mean, of course, I'm confident in the things that I know. I'm confident in the things that I'm comfortable about. I'm confident in the things that I've done a million times. It's when you put me in front of something new that I haven't done before that all of a sudden, the palms are sweating, the armpits are sweating, and you're like, wow, I'm not confident. So
right.
What's the rebuttal here for someone who's like, okay, so I muster up the courage to take action and then I crash and burn. I am not going to feel confident after that.
Well, one, we want to try to come up with a plan that we hopefully don't crash and burn. But even if you crash and burn, it's you've taken a swing, right? If I take my axe and there's a tree here and I swing and miss, well, now I know I got to take one step closer. So even the miss is a quality rep, because what we realize is when we try something and it doesn't work, well, now we have, again, Albert Einstein, his famous quote is like, I didn't find one way to create the light bulb. I found 7,000 ways that don't work. And I believe that those are still quality reps. So again, it comes back to the mindset of I love when somebody's like, man, this isn't working. And I'm like, hello, do you see all these things that we checked off that like you were beating your head against the wall trying? It's like, okay, now we know that none of those don't work. Let's try this. Yeah. Or actually, this is what we found in that process, that you think it's not working. It actually is working because we figured something out along the way. So yeah, if you go into it being like it's a pass fail, you're going to feel pretty bad about it. But if you go in, you look for progress is, hey, C's get degrees, right? I don't think I would have graduated college without that mindset. So understanding that you can still do a lot of great work, not being perfect all the time.
It's so good. C's get degrees. That's funny. We do say though, all the time in our coaching, like in terms of content, because we have a lot of content creators, C-level content produced repeatedly over time and consistently will eventually turn into B or A-level content. So if you're sitting around waiting for, how am I going to put out A content? You're never going to put out A content without first getting through the really garbage filters and terrible, Instagram captions back in the day. I mean, I look at my old content and I'm embarrassed by it, but also super proud because it's like, I was showing up and doing it and I didn't care. Right before we go, do you have some sort of a practice or a last tip for someone who it's like, I get it. Conceptually, I understand what you're saying. Action breeds confidence. Action builds confidence, right? Just like I always say, there's clarity in contrast. So by doing something, we get more clear on it. But for the person who is like deathly scared and has so much fear around rejection, judgment, failure, success, limiting beliefs, imposter, all of these emotions are creeping in because we are meaning-making machines and we like to make things mean stuff about us. Is there like a practice or an exercise to sort of get over the hump of all of these fears? Because the fears are real.
Yeah. And the first thing that my mind goes to is something I've actually shared in an Empower call is when we make it all about us, we make it really easy to talk ourselves out of things because we're the only one we're letting down. But anytime and any opportunity I get the chance to make it about something other than me, there's way more meaning about it. And I use this for people who are sitting on this idea right now, who have a business idea, a product idea, something. I want you to open your ears and listen to this, because what you're scared of is how it's going to look for you. You're scared of how it's going to feel for you. You're scared of what people are going to think of you. But instead, if you put some of that focus on the person that you are going to help and how right now, because you haven't created it and you haven't moved forward and you haven't taken that risk, you are not helping that person, and that person is waiting for you to create this. And when you do that, you all of a sudden feel like there's a different obligation. There's an obligation for me to go help these people. And I used to take it super deep. I used to imagine that my ideal client was crying themselves to sleep every night. And I said, and that's uncomfortable, right? Like anybody who just pictured that in their mind is like, that's really uncomfortable. Well, guess what? It was more uncomfortable to vision that person than it was to go pick up the phone. Then it was uncomfortable to show up on Instagram. Then it was uncomfortable to reach out to somebody and say, hey, I need help. That's what drove me, because if it was just about me, and I think about this every time I step on a stage with a microphone, is if I start to sweat, if I start to breathe, if I start to worry about, should I make that joke? Should I not? What kind of audience? It's all about me.
Yeah.
That's not the right mindset. I want to go into that. As soon as I'm like, no, there's one person out there who's going to need that joke because they're going to relate to it. There's one person who's going to need me to maybe drop a curse word. There's somebody who's going to need me to, to go all out and not show up 80%, but show up 100%, Brett. It's like this huge weight off, and it's like, it's not about me anymore. It was never about me.
Yeah.
It's about that person. And that makes it so much more clear to move forward in the decisions that you need to make. And again, the ABC, it gives you confidence that I'm doing this for a reason. And the reason is not just me.
It's so good. It's the shift from popularity to purpose.
Yes.
From
that's a good one.
Right. And like from getting to giving, from selling to serving, like the shift that we make, it's such a tiny shift, but it really isn't about us. And I've heard that so many times too. I've spoken on so many stages where it's like, okay, well, if you're in your feels, are you a fellow coach of ours have said, are you present or are you presenting?
Mm,
Right. And my mentor recently, I've shared this now like 100 times, but he said, are you truly in it for the impact or are you in it for the significance? And that one stings. Because you're like, if I'm
phew,
up here making it all about me and I don't want to do this story and I don't want to do this live and I'm afraid to speak up, are you doing it for the impact? Because if you were, people need your message, right? People need that solution that
right,
you have to offer. But if you're still, and I'm not saying it's bad, right? And
right,
don't judge
right.
yourself, but like, is there still a lingering significance piece that is holding that you're holding on to? And there might be.
Well, think about our 30 lives in 30 days and how, how embarrassed we are to look back on them. We still got messages about how great they were. We still
Yeah.
got messages from people that said, hey, this was so helpful. Thank you. Hey, I love this. Hey, I'm going to do my own 30-day challenge. Remember, we were like, hey, there's other
Yes.
people jumping on this.
Yeah.
That is case in point of when you show up, you give other people permission to do the same.
Yeah.
And as messy and sloppy and maybe like uncomfortable as that was, it was immediate proof. It didn't even take the whole 30 days. It was immediate proof that, hey, this message wasn't very good. It was kind of fuzzy. The sun was in my face, but the message got out and the message helped somebody. And the whole reason why we're doing this is not because we want to get famous. It's because we want to help people with the message. We feel like there's something inside of us that can help, and it can't help if you don't share it.
Mm. That's so good. I think back to those lives too. And some of them, I really did just do it to check it off the list, which I'm
Right.
not proud of that.
Right.
But for us, the intention of the 30 lives in 30 days was consistency. So knowing that the intention was consistency and accountability, yeah, there were a couple really, I mean, we'll call them imperfect, messy action where like I probably could have thought it out better. I'm not saying you did the same thing, but I remember very vividly there was one that I did in a taxi cab on a Saturday night in New York
I
City. And it
remember
was like
that.
midnight. And I'm like, I didn't do it. I have to get it up. So,
I
Mike
remember
was
that.
like, babe, that wasn't really good. I'm like, that wasn't the point. The point was getting it done.
Yes.
Right. So, but that
Yes.
goes back to what you said earlier. I probably could have been a little more proactive with my planning so that I wouldn't have had a landmine come up. Right.
Exactly. Right. Full circle. And
Yeah.
and that's the thing is they're not all going to be, but I think that that's this misconception with consistency
Mm.
is that consistency is that every rep is going to be your best rep. That's not what consistency is. Consistency is getting to the point where even on your worst rep, you still showed up and did it.
Yeah.
And that you can do it even when you're not feeling it, even when you're not feeling great, even when the setup or the day or the time or the travel or the whatever is not perfect. That's what we do. To quote Atomic Habits here is James Clear, great book if you haven't read it. But my favorite line from that is stop committing to what we think we can do on our absolute best day and instead commit to what we can still follow through with even on our worst day. And that is something we do right off the bat because I don't care how many days you can do it when everything is perfect and there's no holiday and there's no this and there's no that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
What can we do when things hit the fan? Let's make sure that we are still able to follow through and stay consistent because over the time, consistency wins every time.
Oh, there have been so many juicy just nuggets and bombs and so good. I literally could talk to you all day. I was so excited to jump into the episode that I actually forgot to do my rapid fire questions at the beginning. So,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
before we sign off, let's do a couple rapid
I
fire
love it.
questions. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, love it. Bring
So,
it.
Atomic Habits, James Clear, awesome. What are some other favorite books, or what is a current book that you're reading?
Love Start with Why and Simon
I'm
Sinek,
saying.
and then I'm currently reading Built to Sell. I
Ah,
can't
good
think of the
one.
title. Who was the author? James Warren. It's right behind me.
Yeah.
Um, James Warrillo, I think. But great book. Just into it. A friend recommended it, but love it. As far as if you're like a solopreneur or like small business, great book to read. Is figure like he talks about his journey on how he grew his business to something that he could sell.
Love it. Favorite movie?
Ooh, A Knight's Tale.
Oh, wow. I
You know
love
that one?
that. No.
Do you
Well, I know the
really?
movie,
Okay.
but I didn't know that was your favorite.
Funny story. Seventh grade, walked into a salon and said, "I want a perm and I want my hair to be blonde." And she was like, "Oh my god, that's so cute. I don't recommend either of those things." And didn't do it, but I had like the biggest Heath Ledger crush. Loved his hair, and I was like, "Dude, I want that." So I ended up growing my hair long, but it never became blonde. But I love that movie.
That was a great movie. That's really funny. I love that. Best piece of advice you've been given?
Best piece of advice I've been given: listen to the advice and do it anyway.
Mm,
I think a lot of times people will give advice not meaning it to be negative or not meaning it to be harmful, But, some advice is going to be the most helpful thing you've ever gotten. Some advice might be the worst advice you've ever taken. So just be selective on what you take and listen to, and your gut knows the way.
Yeah. I love that. $50,000 question. If I were to write you a check for $50,000, which I'm not going to, but if I were, and you had to use it for the business, in the business, on the business, how would you use it? You could split it up if you want.
Great question. I would probably bring somebody else onto the team.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah, yes. And again, just continue to offload things that I'm not great at, that I'm doing currently, to free me up for time and energy to do the things that I am great at. To me, like, it's hard to argue that money should go anywhere else when you think about the impact that could have on the other side. There's a lot of other things, maybe another cool sign in the background. Maybe no, but to me, like, that is a great way to me, you have to invest to kind of grow the business.
I love it. Before we end with our final question, of course, I know everyone's going to want to go find you, follow you, message you, take your programs, join your courses. So tell us, what do you have going on right now? What's exciting and new? Where can people find you, follow you, and message you?
Yeah, so I probably hang out the most on Instagram. My Instagram handle is BrettEaton_. My website is motivatedbybrett.com. I have a brand new membership subscription service starting literally tomorrow, starting here in September. You can join at any time. It's $29.99 a month, so literally less than $1 a day. We do 2 live coaching calls every month, and it's for 2 reasons. It's for people who have wanted access to high-level coaching, and when I say that, as much as I think podcasts are awesome, as much as I think like following 55 coaches on Instagram is important, is, like you said, who have you declared your goals to? Who have you told what you're going to do? Because there's accountability there. And if you're not telling anybody, there's no accountability. So that's what this group is really meant to be for. And for people who have worked with coaches in the past and want to stay in that container, stay in that energy, have an opportunity to ask their questions and get feedback from somebody, it's for those people. So we're looking to grow that group pretty big and build a good community of like-minded thinkers there.
Oh, it's so exciting. I can 10,000% vouch for anything that you do, your coaching, your containers, your integrity, the way that you show up, the way that you lead. Truly, it's just incredible. So what's the membership called and where can people find it? Should they just go to your website?
It's called Momentum. You can find it you can either DM me Momentum and I'll send you all the info, or motivatedbybrett.com/momentum. And you can enroll at any time.
Okay. I love it. All right. So our final question, we named it Digital Business Evolution because we believe that we are always evolving and growing, and our businesses are a reflection of us. So what is your next personal or business evolution?
Oh, I like that. So I will say personal. 2 things that I've kind of dipped my foot in physically is I've always kind of been a gym guy, right? I've always just been picking things up and putting things down. Most recently, I've challenged myself to do some runs. I ran my first marathon a couple months ago and have kind of become a runner.
Ooh, is that a question?
I'm not really sure if that's true. It's hard to say. It gets stuck on my tongue, but I think I'm really enjoying that. And I've actually kind of dove headfirst into beach volleyball as well, which I love because there's a skill involved, and I love like learning. I think that bleeds into the other areas of my life. It's like when I learn and I feel progress, it's like I want that progress in other places. So yeah. I love having some personal challenges there. With business, it's scaling. We are scaling, for a while it's been just me and we have another person on the team now. We're looking to grow, to add and really tap into, that high performance level. It's something that I feel like I've done my due diligence on. I have worked with enough people on it. I feel very confident in not only the example that I'm leading, but also how we are coaching these people. And for anybody out there who's like, oh, high performance, it must just be do more. It's actually the opposite. It's do more of the right things, do way less of all the other things that we're spending time and energy on. And when people identify that, they're like, wait a minute, I can make more money and do less, or make more money and take more vacations, or do all these things that they never thought were true, because it's not just about doing more. It's about doing the right things, doing about the things that matter.
Oh, I love it. Brett, I can't thank you enough. I'm so grateful for you. I adore you. And I'm just grateful that we get to work together, and I get to see you in person in like 2 weeks so we can actually hug it out. It's been such a long time.
Excited.
I know.
Crazy to think that it's going to be at the exact same place we met the first time that many years ago. So
I know.
So excited. And I just want to acknowledge you for all that you've done and how many doors you've opened for not just me, but all of your students and all the people that look up to you and watch you. And I really appreciate you, because you've had an amazing impact on a ton of people. people and me being at the head of that line.
I love you so much. If you love this episode, as always, the best gift that we can give back, of course, is taking a screenshot, tagging Brett and I both. I am Jessica DeRose, Brett Eaton _, letting Brett know what your takeaways were. There were so many aha moments in here. There were so many quote tiles. I'm like, the team is going to be on it with this one. There's so many things that we could pull, but just really, truly so many golden nuggets. So please, it would mean the world to Brett and I if you shared this with a friend. And as always, cheers to your evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.